My Instagram, I feel like I need to be like up higher. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties with Instagram. Hey everyone on YouTube and Facebook. I feel like we're dark. Can you guys see us on Facebook? I think it's just like I think they put like a gradient down there so you can see the comments better. Can everyone see us okay? People are still getting in here. Hey everyone, it's Darren Fink, and look who's back.
Yay, we're in the same state again.
I know, it's pretty amazing. We're actually both here in Florida, so it's been amazing. For the third week in a row, I'm a mess. Like totally a mess because I've just been outside helping Margie with some projects.
Building.
And yeah, I'm a mess. But let's go ahead and get started. So I just wanted to let you know that, actually, why don't you open us up? Like, tell us who we are and all that.
Okay, so we already said our names.
Right.
So we're Transfiguring Adoption, and we develop resources and tools to help foster and adoptive families. Our goal is to help caregivers so they can nurture kids better.
Do all the fine print.
We are not legal or medical or yada yada advice. It's just a discussion group.
It is just a discussion group, so please don't sue us.
We don't have anything to give you.
We don't have anything to give you, but we're here to support you. Every Monday Caregiver Check-In, we come live and we are here to facilitate. We are not here to create conversation, although we do come up with a couple topics so that we're not just sitting here in silence as everyone gets in here, but we are here to facilitate conversation. This is a time for you as foster adoptive family, foster adoptive parents, or people that are interested in foster care and adoption and supporting it. This is, hey, it's Dusty. Hey, glad you're here. Missed you last week. I don't think I saw you last week. But this is a time for you to come together for us to facilitate conversation. So please, if you are on here, if you wouldn't mind sharing this on Facebook or sharing it if you're on YouTube, sharing it to your social media channels so that other people join us so that we, oh, Dusty says she's in Atlantic City. Wow, that sounds like fun. Definitely share this out though so we can get more people in here and talking, and the more people means the more suggestions, the more advice that we give and share. The more people, the merrier, and the more that we'll all be equipped to handle kiddos better, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, so I just want to thank everyone again for being so patient with Margie and I. We are still getting Transfiguring Adoption's office set up in Orlando, and we are still getting our own home settled and set up. So I feel like we've been behind the curve, like we haven't been doing our A game lately, but everyone's been so patient and kind with us, so thank you so much. But we haven't missed a caregiver check-in yet, so thank you guys for, yeah, I know, like that's our one thing that we keep going on. So, hey, Andrew, Andy's on. But yeah, so if you haven't been on our check-in before, this is your time to ask questions, to see what foster care or adoption is all about. This is your time to give suggestions and advice. I know a few weeks back we had a gal on here actually that was, thanks, Dusty. We had a gal on here that was asking us for advice for when she had her kiddos that the birth parents' rights were terminated. She was excited to adopt, but her kiddos weren't so excited. She just needed advice on how to move forward and what activities to do. So this is your time, so make it your time. One thing that I did want to talk about, unless you had something. You have anything?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I just got this in the mail, and for those of you that are not familiar with the publishing company Jessica Kingsley Publishing, also called JKP, out of the UK, they have phenomenal, hey, Adopted in the Universe on Instagram. Thanks for joining us. JKP has a wonderful selection of books that they have. They've published several different authors. Some of the books are for professionals, some of them for autism, but they have a huge selection that's just for us, for the adoption and foster care community. And like I said, some of it is for professionals, those that are doing therapy or different things in the field, but a lot of it can be used for caregivers.
And there's also a lot of children's books that deal with different special needs or foster care or adoption or just different life situations that kids might struggle with.
Yeah, and I will say that if you go on our website, onto our book list, you'll find several of their titles on there. Also, if you go under Dalton's book reviews, that's for our kids' books that we review, Reading Rainbow Style. If you go on there, a lot of their books are on there, and a lot of them have gotten top marks. I think there are only a couple that didn't get top marks. So they're very good quality books. But this one we just got in the mail, and we're going to be handing it off to the gal that's our volunteer who does books for grown-ups. It's called TheraBuild with Lego, a playful therapeutic approach for promoting emotional well-being in children. That's a mouthful, but it sounds like a lot of fun because it's Legos, and I can't think of any kid that doesn't enjoy doing something with Legos, right?
At least at some point in their development, they go through liking Legos.
I'm going to, I don't know if I'm going to read, if we're going to review this, I don't know if I'm going to read the whole back, but I am going to read some of what other people thought. So Dr. Karen Treisman, what did she do? Dr. Treisman she's done some other books, so she's well known anyways. She said this book is accessible, creative, fun, imaginative, informative, sensitive, and so much more. It takes an item that so many children love and find familiar and non-threatening, and provides the reader with a whole range of fantastic and therapeutic ways of using Legos. I like that, because it just sounds like you're taking something mundane that your kids play with and want to play with anyways, and you're looking for a way to get into their world and connect with them. And I think that's when we're successful as foster adoptive parents, is when we're in our kids' world and we're connecting with them when they don't expect us to.
And like this says, familiar and non-threatening.
Yeah,
so.
And our kids need that a lot, I feel. Mm-hmm. So very cool. I'll read one.
Did you say who the author was?
The author, oh, I'm sorry, it was Allison Thompson. So I have not heard of the author, but I'm very excited to dig into her book. Actually, I won't be. Our volunteer who does this will be, and she does a phenomenal job. I'll read one more from, let's see. Ooh, this one's from the Vice Chair of the Children and Young People's Mental Health Coalition. Allison provides a perfect route into playing with purpose. Drawing both on her experience as a practitioner and the growing evidence base around therapeutic play, Allison has developed a deceptively simple and safe approach that has the potential to impact children deeply. So I like that it says safe, like, not safe, it said safe, deceptively simple. I like that. So yeah, because simple, like why overthink it? Like, I love this. So definitely go check this out. Again, it's Jessica Kingsley Publishing that puts out these books. Just FYI, we are a nonprofit. They are not on our payroll or anything like that. They don't give us, they send us the books to review, and we genuinely tell people what we think of them. And it just so happens that they tend to put out quality stuff. So yeah, they actually, I will.
And the really cool thing is we are a nonprofit, and we do have to fund our website and different things. So if you go on our website and you find a book that you'd like to buy, there are Amazon links for anything that's been in the tables there. So you can click on those links, and if you buy from those links, it gives a little kickback.
It does. It's a lot of fun. So I will say also that with Jessica Kingsley Publishing, that we currently, if you don't know, we are holding our second annual Best Foster Parent in the Nation, or in the U.S. award. So yay, that's exciting. That is the nation, but that's not what it's called. It's called the U.S.
Well, yeah, because we reach people in other countries, and it's just happens to be at this point, it's just the U.S.
It's just the U.S., but I hope that changes. I really do. So I hope it changes soon. But anyways, the Best Foster Parent in the U.S. award is going on. Check it out on our website. If you go on our website, go to the top banner, click on it. It says Best Foster Parent in the U.S. award. Right now we have 3 finalists, and JKP is actually going to give to our prize package. They're going to give some titles to it. So like I was saying, phenomenal stuff. So any foster parent that gets these, they're just going to make their job easier. Because like you were saying, the children's books are just amazing. Just very amazing. So yeah.
Dusty asked if you could, is that on this, or is that?
It's right there.
It didn't come on here for some reason. That comment didn't come here. So, Dusty, did you get the title? She said she's not flipping backwards.
Sorry, I forget it flips. So it's
TheraBuild with
TheraBuild with Lego. TheraBuild with Lego. I think if you guys look on, if you missed that too, if you look on, actually, if you think
it's not on our list yet. It's because I need to update that.
If you think of some things to talk about here in a second, I can look for the link and I will put it in the comments so that they can find it. Okay, but yeah, so definitely go on. That was TheraBuild with Lego. This is going to be an amazing book. Let me put the link in the comments so all of you that are watching on Facebook and on YouTube. I'll put it in the comments there so that you can grab that and check it out more. But what is a favorite book or movie that you use with your kids? I know we've asked that before, but we always there are always new books and movies coming out, and we always get people that like share these like off the wall, like in a good way off the wall, like out of the box things. And I'm like, oh yeah, that would be great. So what are things that you use? Can you think of anything like movie or anything?
No.
No, it's totally like tell a funny joke.
Yeah, very much like that.
Yeah. Let me take a look at it. I'm taking a look to see if I can find it.
Josh Shipp book about working with teens. What's the title of it?
What's the title of the Josh Shipp book? Do you know?
The Molly Movie.
The Molly Movie. That sounds fun. Teresa on Facebook says the Molly Movie. I would like to know. Tell us about it. I know. Tell us about that one. Okay, I'm finding the link here and I am getting it into you guys. There, I'll put it on there and I'm putting it in there. I'm gonna look that up. The Molly Movie. I've never heard of that before. Okay, let's see. Ooh, let's go to IMDb. IMDb, so let's see.
It's about a man in Africa, Teresa's saying. It's about a man in Africa and he opened a children's home for thousands of children. That sounds cool. That sounds like my kind of movie. I like that stuff.
Wow.
The Grown-Up's Guide to Teenage Humans by Josh Shipp. That sounds fun too.
The Grown-Up's Guide to Teenage Humans. That's so much fun. Okay, so yeah, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Instagram, Dusty's saying the book, The Grown-Up's Guide to Teenage Humans by Josh Shipp is a great book. Teresa says that the Molly Movie, she says it's about a man in Africa and he opened a children's home for thousands of children. Oh, well this says, the IMDb says that he became very successful too. He serves over 2,000 Kenya children.
Teresa said, for small children, I like A Mother for Choco. We've reviewed that one in the past.
We have reviewed that one. Let me see if I can find that. Mother for Choco. That is a good book. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oops, that's the YouTube video. It's not a bad thing, but we'll go to this one. Mother for Choco is fun. It's kind of, if I remember right, it's kind of straightforward. It's nice because it uses animals. And so you're not, it's not like it's race friendly, I guess, because it's animals and they're some of them, like Choco's kind of a made up bird character, right? Like Choco, she's kind of like, she's yellow. And so she's just like, it could be anyone. So it's just really good for all that. But what are some other, as we're going through and we're talking about different things, what are different media that you turn to, like books, movies, different things that you would tell people? I just put the Mother for Choco, our review, Transfiguring Adoption review of that book. We did like that book a lot. I forget what the grade it got. I think it got a high grade though. If you do go on our book list, we have a rating system like Rotten Tomatoes with movies. So we go from 1 to 5 hoots. Oh, it got full marks.
5 hoots.
So we go from 1 to 5 hoots. And what we do with that, you can read more about it on our website, but a 3 is like, a lot of people are like, oh, 3, that's like a C, that's bad. And we're like, we think, no, that's really actually good. That's where you want it to be. 4 hoots is obviously better. And then 5 hoots, with 5 hoots, we only allow 5 hoots for those books that directly relate to foster and adoptive issues. If they don't, we won't allow it to have 5 hoots because it might be a really successful book that was meant for the public to read, but it might be like a stretch to get to the foster care and adoption issues. So.
Okay, so Dusty said her kids and her bonded over a movie called A Man Named Pearl, and this year I'm going to I'm getting to go see his topiaries, even though it wasn't foster related. My kids and I love the documentary. Sounds fun.
Yeah, named Pearl. That does sound interesting. It's always fun too, because I think, I know we've talked about that. Well, maybe I talked about it without you here, is that I think movie nights are phenomenal for foster and adoptive parents too, but families, because I think as caregivers, do any of you feel like you're giving and giving and giving, and then at the end of the day, like when you feel like you should be doing the board games, you feel like you should be doing these great things on Friday night or Saturday night, you just have nothing left, and all you can do is just turn on the TV? And I think it's so, like I was saying, it might have been last week, we're saying that's okay. Because you're still watching things together. Oh, that just reminded me. New study, they said the new thing is playing video games as a family is actually a phenomenal bonding experience. You know why?
Why?
Can you guys guess why? Because there's a little bit of a lag. So guess, why do you think that playing video games is such a great family building experience? And I'm going to read this from Dusty, and then I'll tell you why. For family night, Dusty says, for family night, we do cheesy outdoor movie night for the kids and their friends. And it's always so terrible. It's always so terrible. B-rated shark movie. That's awesome. Those are the best, though. Sean said, loved you all. All my kids are the seed that I share. That's awesome. Very cool. I'm glad. So he's saying he shares his kids even with his bio kids.
No, he shares our videos and events even.
You're awesome, Shannon. Thanks. What was that? Oh yeah, the video. So video games. So the reason that's so cool. Well, but that's funny. Dusty says the way my family plays Mario Kart is not bonding.
And Teresa says, please don't tell my son that playing video games is a great thing. I will never hear the end of it.
I'll let you.
So I think the caveat there was, it was as a family. And of course, so it depends on how you're playing certain games. Cause yeah, like, most people wouldn't think that, like, what was it that we got banned from playing at Grandma's house?
Candyland.
Candyland. Okay. We're a little competitive, like the two of us. And so Candyland, Monopoly, like us and board games
we don't do well.
We don't do well.
But anyways, the study was saying it actually shows that your heart rates and your emotions and everything sync up while playing a video game together. Like there's so much that happens synergy-wise with emotions and physical body posture and stuff like that, that even though you're not talking with each other per se, or like having like a full-on conversation, that you're having such an intuitive experience that there's a synergy and a bonding that occurs because you're all going through something.
I would like to see that study.
I don't even care because it's good for video games. I just took it. It was on the radio, so it must be true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and then, okay, so if that's true, I wonder about like going to amusement parks. Is that good for foster and adoptive families then? Because like I would think going through some of the rides, you'd have the same, you're experiencing everything together. I mean, I think some of the principles probably hold.
I would like to see the study.
What do you guys think?
To see how
scientific it was. Margie's skeptical on this one, and I'm ready to jump in feet first with it. Like, what do you guys think? Is that sound legit, or does that sound bleh? Dusty says, "Oh, we bond, but throwing turtle shells and bananas everywhere. That's awesome. That would frustrate me to no end. Playing Mario Kart. That's fun." Okay. Very cool, you guys. So what did everyone do for, we had a lot of people gone. Like it was actually kind of empty and there wasn't a whole lot of conversation. And I will say again, if you are on here, we're facilitating conversations. So please ask questions, share advice. Just any advice that you have for foster and adoptive parents. Not everyone's going to be watching this live. So any advice or suggestions that you found this week are really cool. And just jump into any questions that you have.
Bonding by tackling puzzles as a unit. Yeah, we've actually got some, me and a couple of the kids like puzzles. He doesn't like puzzles. But
no, I like puzzles. I just don't sit down and do them as much as I used to. No, I'm not copying out.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I didn't say you were. But yeah, we have friends that like the whole family really bonds over puzzles.
I think if we had, like now in our new house too, I think we might actually have an area to do puzzles. I could see that. Yeah, Dusty, I think you're right. I think bonding over puzzles would be a great thing.
That was Sean.
Oh, was it Sean?
Yeah.
Sean said that. Thanks, Sean. But like I said before, if you have any suggestions or questions, please share those because we're facilitating conversation. We're not
something I wanted to talk about.
Well, real quick too, while everyone's watching, if you wouldn't mind on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, if you wouldn't mind sharing to your friends that you're watching and you're participating with us so that more people join in and can get in the conversation. I would really appreciate that. Dusty says
okay, so that sounds like bonding fun for everybody else.
Well, what does it say?
Because,
Instagram.
So Dusty says we play Monopoly and everyone assumes that she will win, which she does, but they still have fun, so that everyone else kind of competes to help each other overthrow her. So everybody's kind of against her. So everybody's bonding against Dusty.
That's what usually happens when the kids play video games with me, and then it makes me mad because then they usually succeed. And I'm so competitive on video games that it eventually ticks me off. I have to walk away. What were you gonna say? Because it's probably more than I.
Okay. It's hilarious. So I was thinking about, I'm going to throw this out here, what everyone thinks are the differences between punishment, consequences, and boundaries. What are the differences? And
let's say that again.
So the difference, or are they all the same? Punishment, consequences, and boundaries.
So I would think, I mean,
in relation to parenting your children, of course, the difference between boundaries, punishment, and consequences.
Like when I hear boundaries, I start to think of like, I'm going to share this much information with you and treat you like a bigger kid or an adult or whatever, but I have boundaries, like I'm not going to share this much information with you. Like I'm going to share age appropriate stuff with you.
I'm thinking more like boundaries of, well, one time one of our family therapists was talking about how when you have a baby and you keep them right there and they're in your arms or they're in the crib, and then as they get a little bit bigger, then we put them in the playpen, and that playpen is their boundary. So they have these walls, like they can play and they can do anything inside this. And then as they get older, those boundaries move. So it might be the room, and you've got the whole family room or something, and there's a gate and they can't go beyond that. They can't get to the kitchen. And as they get older, they can go a little bit further, and then maybe it's the backyard, then maybe it's the front and the backyard, then maybe it's the street, and then maybe it's a block away, or those radiuses get bigger. So, but not just always physical boundaries, like maybe you can have a phone, but you can't have Facebook, or like so boundaries kind of in terms of.
So for me, I think when you say consequences, I think they're void of emotion. Like it's a math problem. A plus B happens, so that equals C. Like that happens, so this is a consequence. Like, so it's void of emotion. Like, but this happens, so this has to happen. Where like boundaries, I feel like is a little bit more muddy, because I feel like boundaries is like, hey, it doesn't look like you're doing so well, so I'm going to have to take some freedom away, like so that you're closer to me and you're staying safe. Or, hey, you're doing great, let's try to loosen the boundaries up a little bit, and you can have more to go on.
Okay, so Dusty says, so what does punishment teach? Consequences are much better because it is natural, and boundaries are definitive lines that we live by. I am a firm believer in creating educationally appropriate discipline methods. Natural and logical consequences are my love languages. Kids need boundaries because it teaches them that their boundaries are valid. Consequences can be positive, so therefore not void of emotion. Well, and I think there's different consequences. Like, so Dusty's saying natural and logical. So there are like natural consequences. So if you throw a kid in timeout, what are you teaching them? Maybe you are teaching them to not get caught, right? Well, and one of the things that, a lot of times the research is saying with foster kids and adoptive kids, that some of those punishments are not effective because there are certain sections of their brain that haven't wired correctly. So if they don't understand cause and effect, you know, like if they were a baby and sometimes they cried and they got fed. Sometimes and the next time they cried, they got ignored. The next time they cried, they got hit. So there's a lot of times with neglect or abuse or just different situations that kiddos are coming into foster care or adoption with, they don't have that link in their brain.
And I guess when I said that they were void of emotion, I didn't mean that I don't have emotion when they happen, but it's like, even if it's a good thing, like we've set up together the rule that you will do your chore, or you will get a job so that you can have a smartphone. They get a job and they're really good at it. They get a smartphone and they can handle it. Therefore, they can keep their smartphone, and they probably, you know, like something like it's a good consequence. They get the smartphone. Like, and of course I'm excited for them and they're able to do that. And I'm like off the wall, like, whoa, but like there's emotion in it, but it just felt like, I just feel like they're at the core, there's a math problem almost. And that in itself, like, well, of course you got your cell phone because that happened. I'm excited for you because you achieved and I love you, but
I don't think it's a consequence or really even a rule. So Dusty says they're not appropriate for kids who have a trauma background. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was getting at, because there was a behavioral setback recently where my first instinct, like I was like, it's hard for me not to set necessarily consequences, but I did have to set some boundaries because the child needed basically not to be able to cross certain lines. So it wasn't like I wasn't punishing, but it was okay, because of this behavior, you know, we're not ready to get out of the playpen per se, like figuratively.
Right.
So we had to pull back a little bit.
Well, and I'm even remembering a time when we had a foster child in our home, and they lied about where they were going to be a few times in the neighborhood, and we caught them twice, like in these lies, obviously, and so that resulted in, okay, now you're staying at home, like you're not going with friends, and it was like it was different than like, hey, you're grounded. It was like it was more of a, you aren't able to handle the freedom of being safe and staying around here like a teenager would be normally, maybe. So we're gonna have to pull the reins in. Oh my goodness.
So Dusty said boundaries are so appropriate, and then consequences for crossing those boundaries is wicked appropriate. And I think there's a difference between consequences, like they need to be natural consequences and not just like a made up. There needs to be some kind of attachment to what happened. Like if you get failing grades,
sorry, Instagram.
The natural consequence is that you're going to fail and have to redo the year or something like that. Whereas, you know, we're not talking like, I think that's the difference between sometimes like the punishment where people will say, well, time out or grounding or some things. And Dusty says the consequences have to be laid up front. Yes. Yes.
Well, I think we all have like our go-to thing that we want to yell at the kids when it's not going right. Like I can think you and I as you're grounded. Like you're grounded. Like before we even think things through and like try to like assess like, okay, was that like trauma behavior or like what's going on? It's just like I feel like we all do that.
And I think like, because that's how our parents disciplined us.
Right.
But we didn't have necessarily the trauma background, and we kind of understood that cause and effect, and we were able to learn from that, whereas kids who don't understand cause and effect don't learn from those things. And like Dusty was saying, we just don't get caught next time.
Right. And I feel like that's rough too, because I think that's where I mean, I think any kid goes to that, like, okay, don't get caught. But I feel like even more so because our kids are stuck in survival mode. I feel like, I mean, does anyone else feel that like that? Do you feel like your kids are stuck in survival mode? And that's where, hey, my mom's on. Hey, mom. I feel like our kids are so stuck in that's where they go, like, how can I not get caught next time? Instead of like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like, and I feel like,
and then too, when they are caught, there's more of a what's the consequence to me, and not necessarily how do I repair, or what was the consequence to somebody else as a result of my behavior and things like that.
Do you guys find, does anyone else feel like, oh, Dusty says, everything in my house is earned and Xbox is not a right. So there are steps to earn Xbox time and there's a lot of compromise because kids are kids and it's our job to educate them in ways that will have a profound effect on their future. Yeah, and I like that, the compromise part too, because I think, like we've heard one time, like that you're gonna be human for a long time. And so that means imperfection happens all the time. And I think, I mean, don't you think, do you find as a parent that you forget how human you are sometimes? Because you're just caught up, I get caught up in the moment of like, hey, I've been wronged or this wrong thing happened. And I forget that I'm human and I mess up too. And I forget to put that on the kids, like, okay, don't be like, let's think this through. And not that I'm not going to give out consequences or help teach them or whatever, but like, I just forget to sprinkle it with the, I guess, love, like that, hey, I mess up too. Like, so don't be so hard because remember you mess up. But it's kind of hard to do that. Yeah. Dusty says we celebrate imperfection in our house, and if I am wrong, I own it so they learn how to own what they screw up. Yeah, and I think that's important because I think that's our whole life, right? Like, it's funny because we even had a conversation today about at our lunch table just about messing up and having to trudge through things, and just like all the great people in life have had to go through pain. And I think that's part of the pain is screwing up. I think that's why pain comes sometimes, is because you screw up. And so I feel like our kids have got to know how to deal with that well. And for them, like, do you guys feel the same way? I feel like our kids feel like screwing up equals failure. Like, I'm a fail. Like, they don't say, I messed up, I need to do better. It's, I am a mess up. I am at, like, they own it too much. So it's not, I failed. It's, I am a failure. And so that's why they want to get out of things so much and not own up to things. Like, they'll blame someone else really quick because I am a failure, not, hey, I failed, I'll try better next time, I'll do better. Oh, let's listen to mom and dad's advice.
Well, and I think too, I've heard a lot of, and I know Betsy, our adoptee who has blogged on our site a lot, our friend who is an adult who was adopted, she talks about how, and I've heard this from other adoptees too, that especially if rights were given, you know, if a parent placed their child for adoption as opposed to having the rights terminated, so the parent made that choice, there's this need for perfection because I need to be perfect so I don't get rejected or abandoned. And I know I'm a perfectionist and I'm hard on myself, and I struggle to not be hard on our kids because I need them to understand that they don't have to be perfect, that to gain our love. Dusty says, our kids need to learn how to screw up in a safe environment. Every kid pulls the, not me, and they did it, not me, not just foster kids. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, some things are universal to all kids.
Yes, the universal fun. But yeah, that's a great conversation, you guys. Again, I will interject here for those of people that are joining us that right now we're talking about your views on consequences and boundaries and
what's the difference between punishment and consequences and boundaries.
But this is our Monday Caregiver Check-in, so this is not Margie and I's time to talk. This is our time to facilitate conversation with all of you. So if you have anything that you, suggestions, advice, or questions that you want to ask everyone watching, whether we're live or not, we will get back to you in the comments if you're not watching live. So let us know. We're here to facilitate conversation. We're not here to create it. So let us know. But other than that, was that kind of what you were getting at, or did you want to carry it further?
Yeah, it's a little bit that, because we had to put some of those boundaries, pull back the line a little bit. We had this particular child is very self-aware and understands not having the necessary impulse control and stuff, and actually is appreciative. Often when we put those boundaries, it's like, thank you for putting me back in the playpen because I can't do this. And so it's more, and we're coming at it as a team. Like, this is not something you're able to stop doing right now. So we put this boundary in place so that you can't go past it. There's no way for you to make this mistake right now because it's a harmful mistake to make.
Right.
Some mistakes, are not big things, and other mistakes can have severe consequences, or they can be very harmful.
Dusty is asking, how does culture affect consequences? Do you find different cultures have impacts on how kids handle boundaries?
Mm-hmm. Big time. And I know even when we were in Knoxville, there were a lot of refugees. And I know that there were kids that were brought into custody because of punishments or consequences that were put in, that their parents were doing, that in their culture, in their home country, was acceptable and was not acceptable here.
Right.
And so there was a lot of just difficulty in the communication and in the, the parents. And this was always something we were able to do, and now we've moved to this new country and this isn't acceptable. Now they took our kids away, and we don't speak the language. And
I'm even thinking of just like even Asian culture, like in various Asian cultures, they're a lot more touchy-feely than we are. And even with like out in public and stuff like that with people you don't know very well, while there are some Asian cultures that are very, like I'm thinking of Japan. Like Japan is very much like a culture where like you keep your boundary space, and like mm-hmm. they make sure they do the bowing and stuff like that so that no one's touching, and they do that as a way. I learned that they do that as a way so that they don't frustrate or agitate anyone. Like they limit physical contact, so they don't accidentally make someone mad in public. But I mean, that's definitely, I would think that would definitely be like because like if you're a huggy, touchy-feely family, I don't know. And then
when we lived in Korea, it was very different because same gender friends are a lot more touchy-feely. And I know a lot of folks that were not from Korea were at times like, whoa, bubble space.
Yeah, and I would think you would have to.
And I think consequences the same way.
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, that was the same comment.
This is not. Oh, sorry. Like the computer comments and the phone feed comments are acting up differently. So Dusty said, so what is the approach for kids coming out of abject poverty where things were acceptable or done just to survive? Yeah, and that's...
I see. Yeah, that's interesting. What does everyone think about that? So there might be a different socioeconomic
mm-hmm.
like way of doing something. Well, and I'll even just say that I don't think it doesn't completely feed into this conversation, but it's an example of just like a real world where I went to a church service where a teen came to church, and he was from a different socioeconomic than most of the people there. And he did not know that when you went into a public place, you didn't wear your hat. And he also didn't know that when there's a main speaker, you're quiet when the main speaker's talking, and because he was laughing out loud if he thought something was funny. And usually he was kind of socially awkward. So usually when he was laughing out loud, like the whole 600 people could hear him, and it was just awkward because it wasn't really a funny part. But for him, socioeconomically, I'm sure he came from a place where that might have been funny, or the person speaking did something funny in his socioeconomic culture. But for everyone else, they just were getting annoyed and frustrated. So that's kind of what I think of when I hear that.
She said, because poverty is culture, if you think about it, it is. and the more you're around different groups of people, you learn that. It's, there's like unspoken rules and things that just, and life changes when you're in poverty.
Right. Well, and I'm thinking of like, just even like with, I guess, stealing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think in different socioeconomic circles, it's okay to steal if you're surviving, and if it's small and you don't get caught. Like, it's not okay to get caught. And so I think sometimes, like, kids coming into like a different socioeconomic, or like they're coming from a lower class, lower income
and we
situation.
That in our house, the kids that were placed with us, where stealing was not looked at the same way.
Right.
Very much so. And just different, there were lots of different things that you realized were just different because there were survival techniques.
Yeah, and I think you've also had the experience too, where a child really wanted to get pregnant because she thought it was just cool to have a baby, and she wanted a cute little baby. And she she came from a socioeconomic background where she knew all the government programs to call on so that she could have her baby and live off the government. Yeah,
so it was one of those, a lot of times when you're talking to kids about the natural consequences of sex as teens, and you say, well, how are you going to feed your baby? And the child's like, this, WIC. And then how are you going to do this? Well, this program, how are you going to do this? And that's definitely a cultural difference from different socioeconomic classes.
What is everyone hoping to do? We're getting closer to the end here. What is everyone hoping to do this summer? I just want to close with a fun question. What are your plans for the summer? We're boring. We just moved. So our fun for the summer is settling into our home. Mm-hmm. But we live in Orlando, Florida, so I guess I don't feel too bad for us.
No.
Because if it gets too bad and we actually get time to do something fun, we'll hop over to the beach or something. Dusty says swimming and wine. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's our new house has a pool, and the kids, like, that's the daily thing now.
I will tell people that we, if you know anyone that's coming out to Universal Studios in Orlando, we are going to be going out to the parks. I know you guys have heard me talk about it before. We are putting together a trip in October where Margie and I actually aren't going to take our kids. We have us and then 2 other staff members that we're going to take people around. Volunteers, right. We have spots for 8 families, which those haven't filled up. So, check that out on our website. We will take you around and help you with kiddos. If you have kids that have trauma behaviors, we will make it like, we will devote 24/7, but we'll devote 8 to 10 hours of the day each day to like help you get around the park and get dinner and stuff like that. And have a successful trip navigating with trauma behaviors and stuff like that. But we will be going to the parks more often than that. We're not going to devote as much time, but we would definitely like say hi to you and
give tips and tricks.
Tips and show you around a little bit. We're just not going to be, it's our personal time, so we won't be as involved with it, but we'd love to meet people if anyone's coming out to the parks out this way.
Is just the Universal Parks.
Yeah, we won't be doing
have passes to anything else.
Won't be doing Disney this year.
We just bought a house.
We just bought a house. Won't be doing Disney. Disney doesn't care that we just bought a house or that we run a nonprofit. I don't know why. We need to talk to them about that. Swimming and wine sounds great. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. We are at 45 minutes, so I'm going to be respectful of everyone's time. We have an exciting event coming up at the end of June called Fanboy. It's in Knoxville, Tennessee. It is a comic convention, and we've been invited to go out there. Because our tool that we use for foster and adoptive families was our Harry Potter discussion guide. We've been asked to go out there and help with their sorting hat experience. So if you are around Knoxville or want to go to Knoxville for Fanboy, there will be a sorting hat experience, and you can check that out and have fun and be sorted into your house.
Darren, this pretty face, will be there. I will likely be in Orlando that weekend. We're not positive, but we're thinking I might do the National Foster Parent Association annual conference in Orlando. I might do a table there. So if you're coming to the NFPA in Orlando, love to hear from you and meet up. If we've got to do some looking this week and make sure that that's a good plan. But shoot me a message if you're planning on going to the NFPA conference, and hopefully I can meet some more people face to face.
Other than that,
some great combos.
Definitely, please go on our website at transfiguringadoption.com. Click on the link for the best foster parent. Hey, Rachel. Rachel's awesome.
We're signing off. Hi. Bye.
Definitely go on to our website at transfiguringadoption.com. Check out our Best Foster Parent in the U.S. award that is going on right now. The public has that's right, you have a chance to help us name the finalist. There's voting going on until the 22nd of June. I would appreciate if you shared that on your social media pages now, for people to help vote with that. We have 3 great finalists that have been chosen throughout the nation to be selected as the best foster parent in the U.S. So that's very exciting. Please go on and check that out. Thanks, Dusty. Have a great night too. But yeah, just keep us updated with what's going on, you guys. Again, check out our website at transfiguringadoption.com. Subscribe to our newsletter or go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So good talking to everyone. We will be here again next Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please tell your friends and share this like mad, because the more people we have on here, the more advice, the more questions that we can get into.
And if you're not watching this live, feel free to, we still watch it, check, leave your comments, and you can contribute to the conversation even later on, just in the comments. So
appreciate everyone. You are doing more than you know as a foster or adoptive parent. We appreciate you. You don't know how well that you are doing. We hope that we are helping you to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive family. Thanks, Facebook and YouTube. It's been great. Thank you so much for watching.